What's up, and welcome to yet another episode of the CryptoNoobz podcast, where we talk about cryptocurrency and the world around it. I am your host, NelsonRicardo.x, and I'm here with my co-host.
Lamont Astwood, aka Crypto Lambo.
And today we're going to be talking about something that's really hot on the market: Elon Musk versus Trump. Now, Lamont, straight up, this seems to be like such a hot topic, and I saw that you made like a TikTok about it and what's not. Just tell us and the viewers what is going on between Elon Musk and Trump, and how did we get here?
Yeah, so once you see a beef or falling out goes on social media, that's pretty much that bridge pretty much burned. That's pretty much over. So what's been happening? For those who don't know, in around June or July, when Donald Trump got shot, it was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Elon Musk decided to show public support for Donald Trump, and in August he joined his campaign. He was a staunch supporter of Donald Trump, donated about $300 million to his campaign. Really, yeah, in my opinion, he did a lot to help Donald Trump get the re-election. So after he came in office, they had him running DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. With Elon running that, something happened when I think it was like a 180-day term, but more 120-day term of service. When it was up, Elon stepped down. So, because I guess time of serving that role was up, and he decided to step down from it completely, right? Then
Mhm.
Donald Trump introduced something called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, right? That's basically like a tax policy reform, energy reform act. And one of the things that it did was it spoke to the expansion of fossil fuels, stuff like that. But it also talked about cutting government subsidies to electronic vehicles. And we all know Elon Musk is the CEO and majority owner of Tesla, which produces electronic vehicles. And a lot of that act would have like added a deficit to the what's going on with the US as far as like their budget. So to basically increase their deficit. And so Elon spoke about that and he called it a disgusting abomination because reality is, and he felt as though that act, that bill, a lot of stuff that they're introducing is going to kind of like undo the work he did with the Department of Government Efficiency. Because a lot of that is the electronic vehicle stuff. Basically now you're messing up my money. And yeah, so a lot of them have been talking back and forth on social media. Donald Trump is like, oh, I don't know where all this coming from. He knew what I was going to do for months now, and blah blah blah. He's just acting crazy. But yeah, trust me, this situation, you on one side you have the man in the world who is arguably the wealthiest man in the world. Elon Musk, even though he said he don't think he is, he says he thinks Putin is the wealthiest man in the world, which is probably true. Then you have on the other side a man with the most political power in the world.
Mhm.
They're going up against each other. And some people will be like, oh, well, Donald Trump only worth 10 billion, Elon worth 200 or like 400 billion or whatever. And I tell people, like, wait, Donald Trump could literally carry countries to war. Like, that's the different type of power, right? That ain't just money right there. When you can decide, hey, we're going to war with this next country, that's a different type of power.
Uh,
You know, like when you can say, hey, I'm gonna have my military unit wipe out a leader of another country. That's a different type of power. So like
but
you're dealing with that.
but here's
Like
my
you're
thing
dealing
though.
with yeah,
Here's my thing though. Like, so in the beginning with of their partnership, right? I know that you, amongst a couple other people, they actually called it out really early on,
yeah,
saying, "Hey, listen, this partnership is not gonna last," right? And I do think that there is this thing where we see two guys who are basically titans inside of their areas, right?
yeah,
And so at that particular level, you have such a like a huge ego, right?
yeah,
Now, Elon Musk was one of the most supportive upon the Republicans, right? He supported Trump inside the election, and I saw some of the tweets where he's like, "Hey, you wouldn't have win this election without me," and
and I
things like that.
can't believe it.
Yeah, like I can't believe it, right? What is your thoughts on these billionaires having so much power, right? Like, should billionaires have this much power over the markets? Because these two titans teamed up They obviously had some sort of falling out along the way, and now their falling out has affected all of these other markets that they are part of, especially inside of the crypto market. What is
Yeah.
your thoughts on billionaires having this much power over the market?
Well, that's kind of like a natural thing. Like, naturally, you're going to see billionaires because a lot of billionaires, they own these big companies. A lot of them, they are owners and majority shareholders of a lot of these big tech companies. So then you are on the next side, Donald Trump, like I mentioned before, with the political power. In politics, regulations and laws, that impacts how you do business. So if you see a certain regulation pass, you can see a business who was doing really well, who was in the fourth NASDAQ and all that, doing really, really well. You can see their shares completely tanked because a new regulation or bill is passed, basically to go against something that or mandates that they have in place. So
Mhm.
all of that matters. Like when you see these billionaires beefing, it's never good because they have so much pull. Like Elon Musk was doing, like, me and a friend, we had a conversation about this when he was running up Dogecoin. Remember, like when he first was running up Dogecoin, and someone was
Mhm.
like, "How is this not market manipulation?" Like, this dude is literally tweeting, "Market manipulation is illegal in the financial world. That's illegal, right?" This
Uh-huh.
dude can literally wake up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, and tweet, "Doge is looking good today," and Doge probably shoot up 10%. Like that's a different type of power and pull because now what it also is psychology, right? When you see someone
Uh-huh.
who's a billionaire and who's as smart as Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is incredibly smart, right? And I'm going to touch on that too. Why I think I kind of predicted him and Donald Trump's gov is falling out. A lot of people would look at him and be like, okay, if Elon Musk is buying up this particular token or this particular crypto, it must have value, even though I have done no research on it. If he doing it, it must be working. That's like if you go to the gym and you see LeBron James or another pro athlete doing a particular workout, you will have guys who work at 9 to 5s, who's working 3 days a week, start doing that workout because they see LeBron James doing it. They didn't realize LeBron James work out 8 hours a day. So that workout, that's not necessarily going to change your life per se, but because it's him doing it and the level of success he has as an athlete, we just assume that's going to give us a real edge. Not even to say we're competing as athletes, but just to get in better shape.
Uh-huh.
So we look at people who have a certain level of success and who we perceive as smart, and we just copy what they do. That's just the reality of it. And the reason too, like I mentioned in my TikTok, I didn't know why they were going to fall out, but I just felt they were going to fall out. I saw a few people talking about it, right? When
Mhm.
I saw a report that, Donald Trump said like Elon was clingy or he got in spots with some of Donald Trump's team, I said, all right, this is not going to
He
last
was
long.
everywhere, literally for months. Every
Yeah,
time you saw Donald Trump, you saw Elon Musk. Elon Musk was by his side at every stage. I thought Elon Musk was trying to get vice president. So
yeah.
in that,
Believe it
even
or
when
not, I said it to her. Sorry.
no, no,
I
no,
was
you
telling
continue.
somebody, we probably heard more from Elon Musk than JD Vance during the campaign. JD Vance did more talking than Mike Pence, who ran with Donald Trump the first time, right? But
Uh,
some people thought Elon was the vice president. They didn't even realize Elon's not even an American. Like a lot of people don't even know that he's not an American. He's South African. He's an African American. A lot of people didn't know that. Like, when
this
I was watching, if I didn't have common sense, I never would have believed Elon was the vice president.
here's the thing. So when I saw that they actually made an entire department, I forgot what the acronym for Doge is. Hold on, give me a second. It is the Department of Government Efficiency. This
Efficiency.
man literally supported the party. He supported that the Republican Party, right? And out of that support, he had an entire government, like an entire government faction, literally created just for him, using one of his favorite cryptocurrencies.
But that is
I want you to
beautiful.
understand, but back on the topic of quote unquote market manipulation. When is it market manipulation and when is it not market manipulation? Because here's my question, right? Because here's just some of the information. So early inside this year, Donald Trump was able to drop Trump coin. He was able to create his own
Yeah,
cryptocurrency, drop it, and basically a lot of people got it. He still holds most of that particular currency, and it still has a relatively good value.
yeah,
You as a president able to drop your cryptocurrency while technically not illegal. On technicalities, it's not illegal.
Yeah.
How, like, is that like an example of market manipulation because you know that you are the president of an entire country, and then come back when Elon Musk now has his, and here's the thing with Donald did that for every single member of his family. Every single member
Mm.
dropped a coin just for them. Then come back with Elon. Elon now has an entire US department named after his favorite cryptocurrency. So of course you're going to expect that particular currency to go up, although it's not directly him saying, "Hey, yo, I want this to go up." He an entire department using the name of a cryptocurrency. Come on, man. Are these examples of market manipulation, or are these just loopholes um that they could use to work around?
It is, you could kind of say it is market manipulation because, like, when I did the CFA program, I don't know, like, actually read back up on that, but there is a distinction. When you have certain people who go to court for, like, accusations of market manipulation, one of the things that they bring up is intent. Did you intend to do it? Or let's say you have a platform, you talk about a certain crypto token, right?
Mm-hmm.
um this is why you see like a lot of influencers will say like this is not financial advice, blah blah blah, right. Because if I come and I just give you, I tell you, hey, go buy this token, blah 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 blah, and people go buy that token, they run that up. That's market manipulation in a sense because I was kind of like trying to manipulate the market. I was trying to pump up this token. So when you see certain people who talk about certain tokens, they'll do it in a more objective manner. They'll talk about the possibilities and potentials of it, and sometimes they also risk the risk of it to avoid having avoid being liable for anything. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like market manipulation, it is a lot of gray area with that. It isn't just black and white. But what Donald Trump then was doing personally, I think it was a form of it. But then again, you have to realize the SEC, where before Trump came into power, they was kind of like very vague about crypto regulation. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So they didn't really put in place to say, hey, this is factually illegal what you're doing. It was seen as like manipulation, and a lot of Democrats have a problem with it, right? With a lot of like the Genius Act regarding stable coins and meme coins. A lot of them called out Donald Trump for his meme coin practices, right? But a lot of it is because they didn't really have nothing concrete to say you can't do it. When you don't tell, sometimes when you don't tell someone they can do something, that's almost an invitation to do it. It's like I had times as a kid or like growing up where I did something wrong and someone's like, "Oh, why you did it?" I was like, "You didn't tell me not to do it." It's like so that was kind of like a loophole, right? Now, as far as Donald Trump being charged for anything regarding meme coins, I don't think that's, this man is, and they say he's a felon or something. You gotta understand it. I hate to say it like this, right? Because it comes from a social point of view. Someone was talking about Donald Trump, how when he got elected, people were like, oh my God, y'all elected a felon. How y'all could elect a felon, right? I follow a YouTuber, and he said, this is the problem. Donald Trump was convicted of things the average person don't care about. He's convicted of things that most politicians do. So we don't really care. As bad as that seems, like a lot of billionaires, and I'm not trying to like,
You
call
know,
out anybody, but a lot of billionaires do a lot of market manipulation. They do a lot of inside trading. It is illegal, but that's kind of like how a lot of them operate. A lot of these guys, they're not genius investors. Like, hey, come on, you think Warren Buffett? I mean, listen, you think Warren Buffett just is being locked in like that? No, people bring him
but
information with it.
but the thing is, I do think no, I do think at a certain level, that's the expectation because hey, if I have all this money, you telling me I can't put someone on payroll who just collects information for me. Now, where that
Yeah.
information comes from, that's none of my business. All I need to know is you got proper information that could actually help me to increase my income. Now I'm not now this is not a saying that we support
No, it
that,
doesn't.
right? This is not us saying that we support it, but this is the reality of it, insider trading and just knowing just having a network that tells you beforehand, say, hey, this is what this company is doing, this is what could possibly happen in the future. So of course you getting, and I think that's even a profession, isn't it? That's a real profession. Like
Yeah,
just to bring. I mean, I don't think
yeah,
I'll call in any financial advisor, but I think that's an actual profession. But at
yeah,
that
you like
particular
certain
level,
domains with um research and development and stuff like that. A lot of that just involves finding information. Now, like you mentioned, is a lot is what the policy is regarding how you obtain that information. And a lot of some companies they don't care how you obtain the information, you know?
mm,
So yeah, but a lot of market manipulation or a lot of that has to do with intent. That's all it
but
is, and it's hard to prove intent.
that is. But speaking on the market, I just wanna give some insights into how this Trump and Elon Musk situation affected the markets, right? So I have some information here. So what had happened was Tesla, for example, that actually came out. So Tesla had plummeted about like 14%, erasing over 150 billion in market cap. Trump Media and Technology Group experienced an 8% decline, resulting in a $202 million loss. And inside of the cryptocurrency market, Bitcoin had dipped below $101,000. Approximately 308 million long positions were liquidated. Now,
Yeah,
fortunately, with Bitcoin, it's back up now. It's currently trading at around 105,000. Ethereum had fell by 6%, and Doge had declined by 10% on the day of the Feuds escalation. So it really shows you, and this is like in one day, and it really
yeah,
shows you how volatile markets are, right? But how attached to news and what is happening in the media. But and I also think that it even shows how much influence both Elon and Trump has. Like literally, just you guys beefing, you guys having a problem. When we fight, no one cares. When we fight, no one cares. When they fight, literally entire markets
yeah. That can impact
having
literally thousands,
ten
literally
percent
thousands
drops
of risk.
in a day. I know a lot of people are
Yeah,
just like, yo, but that's what happens when you have, these two juggernauts, and the markets will feel what happens. Now, something that I do want to touch on is that now Elon had even alleged, and this is what had me really laughing, right? And I think inside the TikTok you said, say, told Trump, if you could go low, I could go to hell. So
yeah.
what's up with this alleged Epstein Island case, man? I mean,
You know,
what
imagine Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were good friends. Like that was well documented. They're good friends. Now, like Donald Trump had a falling out with Jeffrey Epstein. Prior to
uh-huh.
this is like a decade or so before this whole thing came out with Epstein. I think they had a falling out. I think it was over some business deal or something that either Trump took advantage of and Jeffrey felt left out or something like that. Yeah, but they had a falling out. But yeah, Jeffrey and Donald Trump they were good friends. Now
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how involved Trump was in the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, right? Because I I tell you, and for people who know who Jeffrey Epstein, I tell people this: Jeffrey Epstein makes Diddy look like a good guy.
Uh-huh.
In my opinion, like no, like the thing about it, Jeffrey Epstein, in my opinion, is way worse than Diddy. Like that's the type of guy we're dealing with. But he was a billionaire. He was a billionaire on
Uh
record, but a lot of people is like when you look at his financials or like when you look at his lifestyle, it did like for example, he did not. Someone who met him said he lived the life of a deca billionaire. That's someone who has tens of billions of dollars, right? But
uh
you don't know where the money, all this money coming from. It was kind of very vague of where this money was coming from. You
uh
could say, right, it come from financial deals and all that, but he was involved in so many things. A lot of people was like, they think he was either like some sort of operative or he was doing a lot of this and through blackmail and all that. So there's a lot of speculation with Jeffrey Epstein. We could have a whole 10 episode podcast on
wait,
Epstein. But
you can save that for later.
yeah, a lot of famous and wealthy and powerful people on those Epstein, like on the quote unquote list, like the Epstein files, a lot of like, because Jeffrey always ingratiated himself with like politicians and like people in the industry who kind of like scientists, stuff like that. Like people who's making moves like that. You didn't see Jeffrey Epstein hang out with a lot of entertainers. You know, there are a few entertainers who he did hang out with, but he wasn't really known for hanging out with entertainers. He liked to hang out with governors, mayors, presidents, stuff like that. That's kind of like who he surrounded himself with. But
That's interesting.
yeah,
But
because think about it. Sorry, think about it. 99% of people didn't know Jeffrey Epstein was until he died. He
no,
wasn't.
that's true. That's facts. I
Yeah,
didn't really know who he was
he
until.
didn't want to be famous. He didn't want to be famous. But it just so happened that all these wealthy, powerful people were friends with him. He selectively picked who he networked with. You see?
Yeah,
You know, he
that's
didn't want his
interesting.
face on the billboard. He didn't want to be on MSNBC doing interviews and all the rest of that. He didn't like that type of attention.
So I do have another question. So right now the Trump and Elon feud is still going on. I know that I read a newscast today saying that Elon was trying to reach out to Trump, but Trump said that he doesn't want to speak to Elon. I was not. So it's fair to say that this probably will be going on for a little bit. Elon already then pressed the red button by talking about the Epstein thing, about the U.S. president. So we can expect that in the markets there's going to be a little bit more turbulence, right? So the question that I have for you would be like how to stay safe when billionaires are fighting. Like how can you stay safe as an investor, trader, or just someone that's looking to jump into the markets, especially pertaining to cryptocurrency?
All right. Well, if you're holding cryptocurrencies now, if you, I'll have to look exactly at the trend to see where it's trending. But whenever you see like something impacted to say like there's going to be a downturn in the crypto market, you want to jump into
Mm-hmm.
stable coins. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have $5,000 in crypto, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see the markets on a downturn. Instead of watching your portfolio go down to $4,500, put it in stable coins, and when you see there are signs of reversal or signs of things moving out, that's when you get back into the cryptos. Because a lot of those cryptos would have fell now. You could now buy them at a cheaper price. When you sold at a price that's higher than where it's going to go. So you can now buy back in at a cheaper price so you can get more bang for your buck, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, that takes timing, that takes actually paying attention to what's going on. So but I would always say, whenever you see anything going crazy, try to go to stable coins. And as far as like stocks and all that, try to stay away. If you see Elon and fighting right now, I'm not saying I think Tesla's going to be okay. I personally just think Tesla's
I
going to
think
be
long
okay.
term Tesla straight. I think long term
Yeah,
Tesla, Starlink, things like that. Like I think that this. Well, by the way, this is not investment advice. None of this is investment advice. But
yeah,
these are just our personal opinions and thoughts.
yeah.
But
So
no, continue.
yeah, so like if you want stuff like Tesla, Starlink, and all that, they're going to be okay long term. Now, it might look bloody now, but what some people do is they like to go for like more defensive stocks whenever things are starting to go bad. Like they're going like they'll go. They used to call them fine. Like they used to be Facebook, Amazon, Google, and you have different type of companies. You have different type of
Uh,
companies what isn't as impacted. And this is all research you can do. You have certain companies that are not as impacted by market turbulence as much as others, so they are more stable. They're not stable coins, but they're more stable. So they wouldn't necessarily, if the economy is doing well, they're not going to shoot up 50%. But if the economy is doing bad, they're not going to go down 50%. So they're going to stay in that stable range. So you will see a lot of investors start to either convert their stocks to cash or they'll pivot to those defensive stocks that'll keep their value of their portfolio from going down. Personally, and this is another thing, once again, not financial advice, when you see some of these stocks and cryptos going down, like this presents another buying opportunity. Once again, not financial advice. I'm not telling you to go buy, 100 shares or 1,000 shares of Tesla, but yeah, it usually presents like a buying opportunity. So those
Uh-huh.
are the things you gotta pay attention to as well.
And I'd like to add on to some of what you said. Once again, it's not any sort of financial advice, but I also think inside times like this, when you're really not sure, but you have some investments that you think long term are going to be worth it, I always say dollar cost average, meaning what you would do is you would just have a set amount that you would want to put inside of this particular asset. Like inside a cryptocurrency, you may think Bitcoin is going to go up in the next 2, 3 years. So what's not? So you just might have like $100 and you just keep on every month adding $100, buying $100 of Bitcoin, and you just keep that trend of doing that. So whether or not it's down, whether or not it's up, you're just being consistent. And over time, that money grows, the money compounds, and when the price does go up, if it does go up, you'll be smiling. Another thing that I have here is don't invest based on hype. When you actually want to put in for any sort of investment, actually research the investment, make sure that the project, the team, what it is that they're doing, that it's an actual conviction investment versus just hype. Now, hype plays can work, but they're extremely risky. That's the
Mm-hmm.
thing, you know? And for like the traders out there, use stop losses and keep emotions in check. Like that's the thing. Like there can be a lot of psychology to it. You gotta keep your emotions in check, and don't focus on just what's happening in the news. Focus on what you're seeing on the charts. But yeah, man, that is powerful. And yeah, so that is the end of our podcast for today. Lamont, I just want to tell you thank you so much for your insights, and we appreciate it.
No problem,
And
man.
for all of you, the watchers, you could always follow CryptoNoobz and CryptoNoobz EDU on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, as well as our Twitter. So we are going to be getting back into making more consistent episodes, and tell us about what it is that you want us to talk about. We talk about crypto, we talk about the markets, we talk about different coins and things like that. Like, what is it that you want us to talk about? Hit us up, message us, comment, and share. And just know that every subscriber goes a long way. So we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. All right.